What comes to your mind when you hear the word prison? Dark cells, cold walls, and strict guards, right? But what if I told you that in some parts of the world, prisons look more like luxury resorts than punishment centers?
Drug smugglers, murderers, rapists, all doing time in a maximum security prison that feels more like a college campus.
This is home?
Yeah, this is home, yeah.
Karsten was convicted of killing a man in Brazil. This is his cell block.
These so-called luxury prisons are designed with modern architecture, private rooms, gyms, even music studios and art classes. Some have cozy furniture, bright lighting, and wide windows that make them look nothing like the stereotype. And the reason behind it? Many countries believe comfort and rehabilitation are more effective than harsh punishment. But is this really justice or just privilege for certain inmates? Today we'll break down the architecture, the design choices, and the shocking reality of these luxury prisons. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Let's get started. Austria's Justizentrum Leoben. Austria's Justizentrum Leoben is one of the craziest prisons you'll ever hear about. You wouldn't even know it was a prison if you walked by it for the first time. I'm not kidding. You might think it's a fancy corporate office or even a gallery for modern art. That's because Josef Hohensen designed and built this place in 2004 with one very bold idea in mind. Prisons don't have to look or feel like prisons. It looks almost like a dream from the outside. There are glass panels all over the place, bouncing the city back at itself. It's almost like the building is saying, hey, we're not hiding anything here, that's on purpose. The whole design screams transparency, which is a way of saying that justice shouldn't be a secret, cold process that happens behind bars and concrete walls. It should be open, easy to see, and at least in theory, kind. This is where things get even more interesting. This isn't just a jail. Nope, it's a full justice center. The regional courthouse, the prosecutor's office, and the district court are all in the same building. Instead of a tall, scary judicial palace, they wanted to build what they called an open service facility for citizens. In short, they wanted people to think that this place serves them, not rules over them. And then there's the part of the prison itself. I don't think it's fair to call this place a prison. Picture yourself stepping into a modern, clean, and stylish studio apartment. That's what the prisoners get. Everyone has their own private cell with a small kitchen, nice furniture, and even a flat-screen TV. Some of the furniture was designed by well-known designers like the famous green Werner Panton chairs. You know they're more luxury loft than lockup if you've ever seen them. But the way they set up their living spaces is the real twist. They chose a flat sharing community instead of the usual long hallways with metal doors. There are kitchens, dining rooms, small gyms, and even day rooms in these shared spaces where up to 15 inmates live together. There is also a loggia, which is like a balcony that is only partially outside. Inmates can go out there to get some fresh air without leaving the secure area. Everything is planned out. The people who came up with this design thought that socializing, having choices, and even little freedoms, like choosing when to cook a meal or where to sit in the common area, are basic human needs. And just because someone is in jail doesn't mean they shouldn't have any needs. This even includes the architecture itself. The building has a double facade system that lets air flow through it while still keeping everything safe. There are no dark, depressing corners like in most prison movies because there is glass everywhere. Instead of keeping people locked up in misery, it's all about getting them ready for life outside. And to be honest, this idea that prison should feel like a place where you can actually rebuild yourself instead of a dungeon that breaks you down sets the stage for some of the other prisons we're going to talk about. You start to see that a few countries really do treat prison less like punishment and more like a way to get ready for a second chance when you look around the world. Norway, quote, S. Bastøy prison. Okay, get ready, because this sounds more like a pitch for an eco-resort than a prison. You might say that Bastøy prison in Norway is the most extreme example of, is this really a prison? Imagine an island that is 2.6 square kilometers big, surrounded by clear blue water, lush plants, and the kind of peace that people in the city would pay a lot of money to get away from on the weekends. Now picture that this island is home to about 115 prisoners instead of holiday cottages. Yes, that's Bastøy. And the best part, there are no walls. There are no big fences with barbed wire on top. There are no guard towers with lights that sweep the grounds. The ocean is the barrier. The only way to get on and off is by ferry. And guess who runs that ferry? The prisoners themselves. Consider the amount of trust and responsibility that comes with that. It turns the whole idea of prison on its head. The setup is very interesting. Bastoy is more like a village than a single block of cells. There are wooden cottages all over the island, and each one has a small group of prisoners living in it. Each person has their own bedroom, and the cottages have shared kitchens and living rooms, just like a regular house. You wash your own dishes, cook your own meals, and take turns keeping the place clean.
You guys have another view on prison. You're like really punishing these people. It's like they're animals.
It's like training for real life that you do every day. But that's not all. There are a lot of things to do on the island, like a library, a church, a cultural center, and even stables with horses. Inmates can ride, care for the animals, and learn how to work on a farm. The island also has tennis courts, a football field, and hiking trails that go all over it. You might think it was a summer camp or a wellness retreat if you didn't know better. Bastoy isn't just about giving people a nice view. It's also about being responsible for the environment. They refer to it as an ecological prison. Prisoners here do work in farming, forestry, and renewable energy. They grow food, take care of the land, and help keep systems like solar panels and geothermal heating running. The architecture was meant to fit in with the island, with wooden cottages that blend in with the trees instead of standing out like a fortress. This model works really well, which is crazy. One of the lowest rates of reoffending in the world is in Norway. People who go through Bastoy are much less likely to end up back in the system than people who go through harsher places. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Instead of spending 23 hours a day in a cell, prisoners are learning how to live in a community, care for themselves, and respect the environment. It's practice for life outside. I understand this kind of setup sounds almost too good to be true. People hear about Bastoy and say right away, that's not a prison, that's a vacation. But that's where the idea behind it comes in. Norway doesn't think that taking away all of someone's comforts makes them a better person. They think that giving people trust and responsibility will make them better people. And to be honest, the results speak for themselves. Monaco's Maison d'Arrêt. When people talk about Monaco, they will always talk about how expensive things are. This is where rich people park their boats, and from the penthouses, you can see the Mediterranean. The crazy thing is that even the jail has views worth $1 million. The Maison d'Arrêt is right on Avenue Saint-Martin, next to the Prince's Palace. It is on rocks above the water. Take a look out your jail cell window and see a scene that costs tens of millions of dollars. That's how things stand here. Of course, this jail wasn't just fancy for the sake of it. Monaco had a unique problem with the room, which was a big part of the reason. They only cover 2 square kilometers, but the land there is very valuable. In order to get a jail, they had to make it look like the rest of the city. Built in the late 1800s, the first building was updated in 1986 to meet current standards. The cells with those stunning views of the sea are in the area for women. The prisoners don't just get to look at the view though. In their rooms, they have TVs, fridges, and air conditioning. That's pretty good for a jail where people are waiting to be tried, right? The goal wasn't to make people feel good by making them feel good. In Monaco, culture and politics are very important to keeping living standards high, even for people who are in jail. There are some bad parts of this jail. For example, the places below ground are smaller and don't get a lot of natural light. You can make a jail look like it fits in with the city instead of like a big, ugly fortress, though, by building parts above ground. There's a good chance you wouldn't even notice it if you were walking through Monaco Ville without a clear goal. That building fits right in with the old city's style. That's what makes the jail in Monaco stand out. Prisoners should not only have nice views, but also see that jails don't have to look like scars on the city. They can do their job, be nice to other people, and be tucked in. Switzerland's Pauschwitz prison, things are a little different in Switzerland. Switzerland takes design very seriously, and that goes for everything from watches and chocolate to jails. Their biggest closed prison, Pauschwitz, is like a small town all by itself. It's set up like a campus instead of making one big block and cramming everyone inside it. It would look like a bunch of buildings spread out with green spaces, walking paths, and a plan that makes it feel less like a building and more like a place where different parts of life happen in different places. People can live in one building, learn in another, hold workshops in a third, and so on. Everything is set up, but not too much. They also gave a lot of thought to the products: handmade bricks, concrete that can be seen, and wood that is naturally grown. Things that aren't overtly sterile, but rather feel like real houses. Their goal was for it to feel like it would last a long time, not just a short time. Say, yes, you're here for a while, but the space respects you enough to not look like a cheap warehouse. There are about 376 people locked up in this big jail. It's great that they keep adding to it. As part of the recent improvements, microforests and courtyard gardens were planned to be built just for that area. Imagine a small forest growing in the middle of a jail. You could go outside and breathe without feeling trapped. It has to do with biophilic design, which is just a fancy word for the idea that being close to nature makes people lighter, happy, and healthier. The story of Auschwitz is interesting because it shows how prisons can change over time. Not, this is how prisons have always been. Okay, what if we add gardens? They ask instead. Why not make the outdoors into a peaceful place where people can unwind? Not so much about punishing as it is about making a place where people can really get better. Finland's Suomenlinna prison. This isn't like the other ones. The Finnish Suomenlinna prison is not just lying around, it is right in the middle of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That's right, yes, a prison inside an old fort. The prison was built on Iso Mustasaari Island in 1971. The island is part of the bigger Suomenlinna Sea Fortress complex. If you hear the phrase prison in a fortress, you usually picture a dark, cold theater from the Middle Ages. That's not at all how this place looks. A lot of the houses on the island were made of simple wood by the Finns. They kept everything low to the ground to make it look old. Each block has about 10 prisoners and each one has their own room. There are shared kitchens, living rooms, and of course saunas since it's Finland. Saunas are pretty much a culture must-have. Even in jail, they were not going to leave that out. The design as a whole lets people keep their privacy while still urging them to live together. What makes Suomenlinna so unique is the connection between the prisoners and the old building. Some of their jobs are to help fix up the castle and keep it in good shape. To do that, you need to learn how to use stone, build things the old-fashioned way, and make items the way people used to. People can learn these real skills that help them understand past and make plans for the future. What about the buildings? Oil-based paints were used to make them look good even after years of use. Most of them were made from wood that was found nearby. Not making the jail stand out like a sore thumb, but making it look like it fit in with the rest of the area. Being a tourist walking around the fortress, you might not even know that you are going by a jail that is being used. It is very well done by Suomenlinna to respect the past while also meeting the needs of today. It's not flashy or unnecessary, but it was carefully planned. It shows that jails don't have to be on the edges. They can be in important places and even help keep culture alive. Sweden's Sollentuna prison. They took the idea of a modern prison and made it more eco-friendly. It is possible for even jails to be better for the environment, as shown by the Sollentuna Remand Prison and its Tablin 4 building, which opened in 2011. What is the most interesting thing about this place? The top. It's not just any roof. This one has life. It has grass, trees, and other green things on it that keep it cool in the summer and warm in the winter. For bees and other animals, it even makes small homes. It soaks up rainwater and slows down the flow of storm water. Imagine a jail roof that is alive and works. The idea of survival keeps going inside. High-tech shielding glass has been put in place of the old barred windows. These glass walls are safe and let in a lot of natural light, which is good for your state of mind. They help keep the weather in check, so you don't have to heat or cool your home as much. Compared to other systems, this one uses half as much energy because it uses heat from the outside air again. Low flush methods are used in bathrooms to save water. Biogas is made from food waste, so it doesn't just go to the trash. The commissary even has organic food, and veggie meals are always available. They seem to say, if we really want to help these people get better, we should also care about the places they live. And to be honest, it makes sense. One way to help people get back into society is to teach them responsibility. Being responsible for yourself, other people, and the earth is what this means. It looks like Sollentuna is a step in the right way. ADX Florence. Let's talk about something else now. There are differences between the US and Europe when it comes to how they think about making jails better places to stay. And it's not like anything else. There is a place in Colorado called ADX Florence that is often called the Alcatraz of the Rockies.
You just have to be alone with your thoughts and toss and turn till the morning. For 2 years, I never got a full night's sleep.
This spot doesn't care about being cozy, getting enough natural light, or fitting in with the neighborhood. Being in charge is what ADX is all about. It was built to hold the most dangerous and well-known criminals like terrorists, drug cartel leaders, and serial killers. It is the safest federal jail in the United States. The rooms are only 7 feet by 12 feet, which is very small. What about the furniture, made of concrete all around? The bed, desk, and stool are all part of the room and can't be moved or turned into a weapon. How about the window? The only thing you can see is the sky through a 4-inch wide hole in the wall. It's hard to figure out where you are in the building. In that way, the world is very tightly managed. Also, the amount of safety is different. Some of the things that work together to keep people inside are motion sensors, pressure-sensitive floors, steel doors that can be managed from a distance, and 12-gun towers. People who are locked up are alone for 23 hours a day and can only work out for 1 hour in a small brick yard. The way you look at it, ADX is either a great example of how to design security or a bad example of how to design for human rights. No one has ever been able to get out, and some of the world's most dangerous people are still there. Some people, on the other hand, say that the extreme separation is like mental torture. There is no doubt that ADX Florence has a very different point of view. In Europe, the goal is to make people better. What we want to do in the US is keep the problem from getting worse. It's not about comfort in this case. Luxury is about technology and full power. And that's the story of how prisons can look completely different depending on where you are in the world, from glass walls and island cottages to underground cells and concrete boxes. It really makes you think, should prisons focus on punishment or on giving people a real chance to change? Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.